The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Everybody, good morning, good evening, and good day. Welcome to another exciting webinar brought to you by Vivid, the independent micro-focused software user community where we grow, share, collaborate, and most importantly, exchange knowledge and ideas, which is what we're going to do here. This webinar is how to achieve cloud control using micro-focused hybrid cloud management. Next slide, please. As always, I am the leader of the special interest group. This is brought to you by the Automation and Cloud Builders Special Interest Group. If you're not a member of the group or you know someone who wants to be a member, please click on the link that we'll send you and please join us and share your ideas. Next. So, welcome again from me, your host, Darren Blumenthal. I'm a solution architect at Accenture. And with me, I have two very special guests. I'm really pleased to welcome back to the stage, on the next slide there, Neil Miles, the Senior Product Marketing Manager for the Hybrid Cloud Management at Micro Focus. And giving us a demo today, we have Shaw Zhang, Solution Product Manager, Hybrid Cloud Management at Micro Focus. I'd like to welcome these two incredible individuals who will be sharing some insights and tips and tricks there around hybrid cloud management. So without further ado, I'd just like to go through some housekeeping. So if we move to the next slide. Okay, so everyone, this is a live session. So this is going to be using real live demos. So don't try this at home. Recordings will be made available to all Vivid members, those of you who've registered. And if you have any questions, please type them in the questions pane, and at the end of the webinar, we'll be answering them as we get them. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Also, you'll notice your webinar control panel. The orange button is your key to it, so you can maximize and minimize it, and type your questions in the question panel. Thank you very much. Take it away.
All right, we're going to start with a poll here. Thank you very much, Darren. My name is Neil Miles. I'm in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I'm on the Hybrid Cloud Management team here at Micro Focus. Do we have polls to start with here? Here we go. How many public cloud vendors does your organization use today? Please take a minute here, and we're not going to be voting, but we'd like your opinion on what's going on for how many public cloud vendors your organization is using actively today. Give us a kick here, and we'll wait just a few seconds for the answer. Okay, let's go. Let's see what everyone's got for proportions. Looks like a third. Wow, that's amazing that it's even. It's a third out there for everyone, for one or two or more than two. Okay, so that's cool. Let's go on to the next polling question. Has public cloud use at your organization accelerated this year? Yes or no, or are you planning on that later on this year? Please give us an answer there for us. This looks simple. Go ahead. Let's see what it is. 100% accelerated. Okay, so this is an apropos topic. All right, so I think we have one more polling question. Cool. Thank you for your answers. One more polling question, quick. Is your central IT team responsible for the budget or contract of public cloud vendors, or is that shared with lines of businesses or development, or is it? I'm just having fun here. Pretty much chaos. Who's paying for it? Let me know what you think about for your group. Is it central IT? Is it combination of that with a line of business, development, or whatever? wait just a second for a couple more answers. Okay, go ahead. Okay, we have 75% sharing with line of business and 25% admitting that it's chaos, which is pretty good because that's what we hear from a lot of different organizations. Okay, awesome. So here within Micro Focus Operations Management area, we've got 6 suites, and we have an ITOM platform, which is a containerized platform, which is where the suites come from. But over on the second from the left here is HyperCloud Management. But the others, just to let you know where we fit in, there's Service Management, HyperCloud Management, the Operations Bridge for monitoring, Data Center Automation for compliance and patching, Network Operations Management for all of that as well, Data Protection for doing your data and backing it up and making sure that's protected effectively. The cool thing is that the ITOM platform gives you orchestration and everything across all the suites. So it's really, very, very cool. If you haven't found out much about the ITOM platform and the container deployment foundation we've got, it's very cool, very, very modern, and a complete re-architecting of all the software. So let's go to the next slide and talk about HyperCloud Management and kind of what we see as the customer questions and concerns that people are looking and trying to solve with HyperCloud Management. Now, often they're putting a cloud management platform, orchestrators, they're doing some cloud native dev work, they want to do cloud costing and billing, so there's a lot of different things people are trying to pull together into what they call HyperCloud Management. But number one here is what we're going to be talking about today is enabling easy, fast, manageable public cloud adoption, right? But you also, as you move into cloud and have custom services, you need to design and deploy those custom services. And we've had one customer come back and tell us that 40% of the work was still doing the middleware database and application software on top. So it's not just enough to serve VMs, okay? You're not getting enough of the work done to move quickly enough. A lot of organizations are working on DevOps, and unfortunately, usually the ops team loses in that conversation because the DevOps team, I had one customer telling me that they were taking weeks and weeks to prepare their primary application for production, and Dev came back and said, we're going to release twice a day. And you have to be able to respond to that. So time to value is the issue. IT is there to provide the infrastructure, power, and operations services to help things move ahead. But one of the cool things about our new containerized platform is you get ROI every quarter because there's new functionality available every quarter that you can actually use with the new containerized environment. And then you've got other integrations and stuff as well. Let's move on. And now as we set up the actual problem for today, we'll go as quick as we can and get to Shah's demo. All right, so here's the architecture, the visual structure for the HyperCloud Management Suite over here on the left, and we've highlighted cloud brokering and governance, which is what we're talking about today. All right, so we do cloud brokering and governance, we do hybrid service delivery and orchestration, and then we actually do the automation of everything to supply the ops side of DevOps. But let's keep going. You'll get access to all these slides. We're not going to go through them in detail on this one. So what are the problems people are solving around public cloud adoption? We had 25% of the people say it was chaos. And that's pretty much, we even as Darren was telling us when we were in pre-talks for the webinar, he said cowboys with credit cards. I call it stopping random acts of cloud. I had one customer say to me that until they proved that they could run their workloads in a second cloud, they never got a discount from their primary vendor. When they did show that they could use a second cloud, they got a 23% discount from the main vendor. So obviously good negotiators, but look at the problems over here on the left. Okay, you need access to all those marketplace services. I want to do what I want to do. I want to deploy my workload wherever I want, whichever zones. I don't want someone to tell me what I can do. I want to track that cloud spending and see what my team does. But I need to control costs and budget and quota for my teams as well. So over here on the right, Central IT is saying, how do I get all these things aggregated? How do I place the right resources there and choose the right ones? How do I generate show back? How do I control costs and resource usage? how do I get access? So how do I manage utilization? That is the big question. So moving right along to the next page. What we believe is needed and what we've put into HyperCloud Management is the ability to allow Central IT to act as a multi-cloud broker, track and report on the overall cloud spend, but control the cloud spend through policy management. So you get kind of like, we meant to do this kind of thing, and recommend workload placement through analytics. So the key thing is Central IT cannot be perceived as slowing down the end user's work or ability to go and access services. Next slide. We're going to go through just very fast, just a quick brush through the screenshots, and then Shaw will do his demo. So we got like 4 slides, and we're just another minute, we're going to be there. So multi-cloud aggregation means I want the ability to put specific services in a catalog that I know are correct for my company, for the policies that IT wants to enforce, for whatever middleware, whatever database we're using, whatever. It's the right versions, it's the right thing. It's controllable and manageable and supportable by IT, but we want to put that in a catalog for the users to create. And I want to be able to create that offering and pick the options, see the pricing, and then publish that for the users. Next slide. And then we want showback reports. I want to be able to highlight what's going on and who's using which subscriptions and in what currency that's going on and what's the total cloud spend for that cloud vendor. And this is important because this allows IT to look like they really have still control, even though the line of businesses are doing what they need to do. Next slide. And finally, it's great. I had a great boss at HP when we were part of HP. She had this wonderful saying: "Nothing stops an argument like data." And for us, what we're saying is we need you to have the reports to be able to show what teams are doing when they're going to be going over budget. And just keep people well managing their spend. And as Darren and Shaw and I were talking before the start of the session here, it's not just the services that are out there in the public cloud. The issue is turning them off, and it's also getting rid of storage. People leave, people change in your organization, and there's orphan services and storage and out there that's charging you monthly, and you're going, what's going on? One of our teams got started with Amazon as an example. One of the dev teams and R&D teams got turned on to that, and we hadn't set it up formally to the company yet, so they were using our head's credit card bill. Lo and behold, he had a $50,000 bill the next month. So the issue here is the fact that just because and I told Darren this, just because I learned this in high school, just because you could do something doesn't mean it was smart. So we want to control this and make it work well. Next slide, and then we're to Shaw's demo. We'll have lots of time for Shaw's demo. So once you've selected the right and set up the right instances, the right middlware, whatever needs to be set up from a version control, supportability control, your policies, etc., your compliance, okay, you want to still make that in a very simple catalog where the users can quickly go out and get whatever they need and subscribe to that. Okay, and that's the power of this, is we're not slowing down the users. They're just going to one central place to pull from. If you look at Amazon and Azure, that's 5,600 plus images out there. That's like being at the candy store at the duty-free candy counter, the duty-free, going, I've got 800 candy bars to pick one. It takes longer than just picking one. So that's what we've got. So we want to bring a select group of services, make it fast. All right. So now we're to Shaw, and he's going to show us a demonstration of all this working. Shaw, take it away.
Okay. All right. So I will start with just getting into the HyperCloud Management Suite itself. So as let's say a cloud admin or IT engineer user, I have access to this backend management plane. We call it HyperCloud Management Cloud Controller. And HyperCloud Management Suite is a solution that's been built from ground up about 4 or 5 years ago from the legacy HPE Enterprise, and now it's Micro Focus. And it has a lot of capability underneath, and basically allow a IT to model, create a set of cloud services based against a set of cloud providers, automate the provisioning of those services, and then manage its life cycle over time. And it's powered by the orchestration engine underneath that does all the automation work, but manage the life cycle through a metaphor of service design and service modeling. So what you see here is the landing page for HyperCloud Management Suite, where you get a view of all the resources that can consume in the environment, how many different providers, how many provision fulfillment requests has been done by different groups, and traditionally, designing a cloud services require a knowledgeable cloud admin to go and model a service to be deployed to a targeted environment. For example, if somebody wants a set of resources to be available in AWS, a cloud provider or the IT engineering will go and design a cloud service using our platform. Once that service is designed, it will test it against the endpoint, and then eventually publish it out as a self-service catalog item for end user to consume. Now, that was great a couple of years back when you have a full control of how you want to access to the public cloud services. But as customers start expanding their requirement to use more and more native services that's available on AWS and Azure, IT becomes slower to respond, because when developer wanted something, they want it now. Not 2 weeks later, after I properly design the service and test it, and then you will have it, right? So this is one of the reasons why many of the different organizational department will end up go to AWS or Azure directly and consume those services using their credit card, because they just don't have time to wait. So as part of the innovation that we've done in the last 2 releases, we have added in a automated cloud brokering capability for against AWS and Azure, and this is built on top of existing technology that are already available inside our HyperCloud Management Suite. So what we did is that from our provider framework, where you can see here, the provider framework allow you to actually configure resources that you want access to with various different cloud providers. And simply to say, right, when you want to set up and say, I want IT to have a centralized account to access AWS, for example, you will set up an AWS access point through a provider framework here, giving the credential and the system account access, so you have a broader range of control to all the resources available in AWS. The minute you set up that, what you can do now is there's a additional flag, which is called enable cloud brokering. All you have to do is set that to be true. Once that's done, a set of services that gets kicked off in the backend that will go and use the credential that is provided to AWS and start indexing every single marketplace catalog items that's available on AWS based on the account and the regions that you define. Once the data comes back, we actually normalize that data between AWS and Azure and all the other providers that we support, and present it in a way that as a cloud admin, I can go in and use an interface to access that normalized data in a single pane of glass. Okay, so far I haven't created any services. So far I haven't done anything to the system to actually making any custom flows or creating any automation scripts. It's essentially pulling back all the information coming from AWS and Azure, index them so I have a way to access it. So if business coming in, let's say, saying I need to have I need to build a quick website for my marketing campaign and I need to run it on AWS, the cloud admin now has the ability to use this interface to broker services and then make it available for the end user to consume. So for example, here, I see that all of the services that's been coming from AWS and Azure are showing up here. There's roughly about close to 6,000 services that's available for me to actually pick from. And let's say marketing wants to have build a website, so I'm going to search for WordPress, and maybe I can filter only to show the WordPress that's coming from AWS. I go through, I can look at each one of these, and it will pull back description in real time from AWS and tell me what is available in these images, and which region it's available from, and the pricing in real time. And I can browse through each one of these until I find the one I wanted to offer to the customer, to the end user. So once I pick the image that I want to offer to my end user, I simply select the region I want to offer to. Let's say I want to just stick it with the West region, and pick a t-shirt size of what that the deployment will look like. So for this purpose, I'm going to pick a small one for my demo purpose. So I'm going to pick a size to be T2 micro. And I just simply say create offering. What's happening now underneath, the system will automatically take that service offering that exists in AWS, use a default service design that's already done in our system, and attach this service offering to that. It creates an offering within HyperCloud Management Suite. So you can see that my offering is ready, and it's the WordPress offering that's available for West region with a t-shirt size already described in the description of the offering. I can click on View Offering. It will take me directly to the offering configuration of HyperCloud Management Suite, and I can do some things like set additional pricing. So for example, if I want to do some pass-through charge, I can set some additional pricing information on this. And save this. And I can publish out to the catalog I wanted to publish to. So for this demo purpose, I'm going to publish to a global share catalog, which gets automatically inherited by all the rest of the catalog that's available here. I'm not going to set the approval process for the speedy of the demo, and I'm going to tag it to the web hosting service. And that's all I need to do. Once I publish this, it's going to be available for end user to consume. Okay. So now, let me just log off and log back in here. As an end user, I can now go to my self-service catalog through our marketplace portal, and I can click on the new releases, and you'll see that as a new release that was just being published with what I just tagged for the WordPress. And I can select that item and simply plug in a couple of information I need and to provision this instance. For example, I want to select the key pair that belongs to me, so I can use that key pair to access the server once it's provisioned. Selecting the targeted VPC and the subnet where I want to deploy this to, and I just click on checkout. And once I submit this request, the system will then kicks in the backend. And we switch back to the backend management interface. And in a couple of minutes, the provisioning task will happen in the backend. So right now I see that this service is now already being kicked off. It's in the transition state, and if I drill down to it as a cloud admin, I can see everything that's happening in the environment through my management operation console. I can look at every single event that's happening in this, and you can see that the first event is initializing, and checking certain things around the information that I'm collecting. And now it is going through and deploying this provisioning this instance into AWS. And if I drill down into it, this will take me down to my backend engine that's actually doing the automation work. I can see that it's talking to AWS, it's looking at instance detail, making some changes, and then it's going through and actually starting the provisioning task. Okay, and the provisioning task will basically using AWS APIs to provision the WordPress image and with appropriate networks and the disk and subnets and all that information that I request attached to earlier. After we finish this task, the next step is that we introduce additional capability on top of what we here is custom tagging. So as we deploy something into AWS and Azure, we'll automatically tag every single instance that we provision based on the user and the group and organization that requested the information, so that every single instance that gets provisioned onto my AWS and Azure environment will have a additional identifier that we can use later on to track usage. Okay, so this is what's happening right now, is going through and doing the custom tagging after the services provision. And the tag is pretty quick, so let's just do a quick refresh and then see that's completed. So now actually everything's done. As an end user of that just requesting for that service, in a couple of minutes they will get an email saying your service is ready. And now that user can go back in, look at the subscription through the marketplace portal. They'll find out that services that he just requested is now available and it's online. If I click on link service, it will go to the service detail. Now it's showing me it's online. If I want to access the console, I can click here and take me directly to that service console that's on AWS. And here's the IP address for that server that's running. So if I want to just do that, I can click on it, and here's the WordPress that's running on AWS, right? So I can use the default user ID and password to log in and start creating this website for the marketing launch. Now, so that's how easy it is now to offer a service using our broker aggregation capability between AWS and Azure. And we also support is private images as well. So we'll index if you have policies saying I can only giving user access to the images that I first pre-selected and then maybe lock down with certain capability and then attach them as a private image. You can do that as well. We also support that. You can simply create a service offering out of the private images as well. So now I can create these services so easily. My bill for Azure AWS would go over the roof, right? So how do I keep track of that and making sure that I don't go over my budget, right? So the subscription by organization and various different reports on the dashboard will give me a high-level snapshot of what's being used in all the environments. What we also introduce is a governance capability in our recent release. And we started with it as what we call a budget quota policy management against the cost of the service. Okay, so you can see here, I have a set of different budget policies that's been developed based on different organizations I have. And each one of these budget can be tracked against a group and organization that's logging into my marketplace portal and consuming those services. I can define those services by setting up a threshold. And if it hits certain threshold, let's say I want to do is giving a $5,000 budget to my for this particular budget policy, and I want to track it in a monthly, a quarterly, or yearly fashion. And I will enable this policy, and I will set up a couple of notification email when this policy reaches certain threshold. Okay, and once the policy is done, set up, I can then attach these policy to the organization or the group that's in my HyperCloud Management Suite. And you can, and the budget will start automatic tracking it based off the utilization of those organizations. And you can see that the consumption for my Micro Focus engineering group is getting pretty close, where my R&D group is pretty flat right now. They just do some quick testing. And now if I want to get in more detail around how things are getting utilized, we also have built a set of showback report, and we can drill down from here to actually get down to that exact showback information of all the consumption that's been happening for that particular organization. I can select different time frame using different filters, and just simply looking at what's being done from the beginning of this month till now. These are all the offering that's being charged and up to now, and the total that's getting shown here. I can also have capability to run subscription reports and cross-reference those information against the cost that's actually occurring in Azure or AWS. And that's basically leveraging the custom tagging that you saw. We actually use that information that previously you saw that's tagged to AWS and Azure, and the subscription information that we already have in our environment, and cross-reference that and show you the actual usage between AWS and Azure and my subscription pricing. Okay. And I can also go and look at subscription pricing for all organizations across, and the running total of that. And if I can select it for yearly, monthly, quarterly to do that actual showback report and give you visibility control. I can download this into other formats, and the data can be downloaded for me to run reports and analytics using a reporting or a spreadsheet or whatever it is. Okay. Now, that's kind of, I want to just wrap this up right now for my part of the demonstration. HyperCloud Management Suite itself has a lot more capability than what I just showed, right? This is basically how we can very quickly get customer on board to manage their public cloud by providing a set of services without having to go in extensively to build flows and designs to create complexity, complex service offering around it. That capability always existed in HyperCloud Management Suite. What we did is we leveraging the same framework to build these automations so that we can even harness the power of the public cloud easily by using a simple broker aggregation capability. So Neil, are you do you want to take it back or?
Sure, that's fine. We can open it up for questions when we're done. We've just got a couple more things I'd like to talk to you. If you could go back to the slides for a second, that'd be great.
Okay.
And we'll skip the next slide. 2 more slides.
Right here?
Next one.
Okay.
The 85%. So, you know, we did some studies. Actually, could you step back? Sorry, just one.
Okay.
I was a little behind you. Sorry, because of the delay. You know, 85 to 90% of enterprises have a multi-cloud strategy now. There's good reasons for that. But even one of our competitors did a survey, and it's the only survey I've seen that's like that right now, is that talking about waste in public cloud spending, meaning overspend in public cloud spending, can go up to 35%. I've seen no other studies from Gartner or Forrester that are speaking to that yet. So go to the next slide. What we're trying to do with this capability in HyperCloud Management is help you eliminate waste in public cloud utilization. And waste, and you know, the 25% of you that were honest enough to say it's chaos for spending, you know, organizations struggle to control things when people can do whatever they want without even talking to central IT. And unfortunately, when that hits the CFO, when it's a big number and it's a real hard cost spent outside the company, it's not internal cost, IT gets seen as not being in good, effective control of processes or managing their users or controlling their users. And that's a reputation result that IT gets hit with, not for any fault of their own. It's just the CFO doesn't understand. You're my CIO. You're responsible for technology. Here's technology. Here's a huge bill that we weren't expecting, that we didn't budget for. What's going on? And the CFO gets the impression that IT is not managing their spending or controlling their users well. And as I spoke of before, if you're only using a single cloud vendor, you've got no leverage to get a better price and a better pricing. So here's what we recommend. If you go to the next slide for me, Shaw, that'd be great. What we recommend is as you're building your business case for cloud management, that you can actually work to do a simple study, work with some of the business units, estimate the level of waste that's occurring right now. And it doesn't have to be negative or adversarial. Say, hey, did you get caught on any of the things? Like, document a few example departments, good and bad. Okay, what you're really looking to is saying, how can I create a realistic baseline for how much I'm spending in the public cloud? And maybe it's just turning off things more effectively when they need to be turned off, and also eliminating storage, as Darren told me. The issue here is the fact that these are real savings to the company or to your organization, and it's a real cost. So what we recommend people do is recommend 5 or some odd percent, 5 to 10% reduction of cloud spending, just from better management and better visibility into what's happening. This works with CFOs because this, once again, a chief financial officer absolutely is a hawk when it comes to spending outside of their organization. And if we can show that we can have a better ability to control that cost on an ongoing basis, that's a great justification for the use of a better tool. So that's what we recommend you do. And then the second part is down at the bottom is you can also use effective hybrid cloud management, multi-cloud management, as a ability to negotiate a better price from your cloud vendors. And we've seen this work for customers. Okay, so this is something we recommend when they work through financial analysis with us. Okay, so just quickly, that's what I'm saying is basically if you've got overspend and unforecasted and unplanned spending with cloud vendors, the CFO is going to say, what's going on here? And they're going to turn to the central IT team to fix that because they're responsible for technology, even though the line of business are doing it themselves. So the point here is to keep the reputation, to be able to show control. We recommend these kinds of capabilities like Shao showed you. So let's keep going, moving right along as we wrap up and we get ready for questions. We're just come to conclusions here. So what are the advantages of using a comprehensive tool like hybrid cloud management? Here's the advantages and differentiators for private cloud management on one slide. So the cool thing is that, as we say at the top, it's DevOps driven, so we can do things that are very cool, but we have the ability to enable DevOps. We've got multi-cloud management with brokering, orchestration, and even migration. We can help you with migrate the lifecycle of cloud work. So top left screenshot, that's what we just demoed today. Built-in aggregation and governance capability to enable public cloud adoption. But once again, the dashboard that Shah was continually going back to is just below it. That allows us to do more complex services across traditional IT, containers, cloud native, whatever you need, and internal and cloud. And then we have, below that, we have a service designer that is really cool because it's cloud agnostic, meaning you design it first and then you decide where you're going to run it. And that's really cool. Also, for service providers, they love this because we have the ability to upgrade service instances in flight, which saves them a ton of work. And it's a pretty unique feature from what we've heard from others in the industry. Top right, we've got that orchestration engine with 8,000 plus out-of-the-box flows. Remember, otherwise you've got to build and pay for integrations and or workflows to be built for you if you're using someone else. And that's something you don't need to do. And then finally, we have the ability to tie everything into a Jenkins code pipeline and be able to allow developers to subscribe to the service, just as we've shown users can grab Amazon services. Any infrastructure service or resource, including platform, software, middleware, whatever, can be automatically subscribed by developers, and no longer are each one of these requests hitting the ops team like a cubicle grenade when it says, like, hey, wait, I need this now. Sorry, I'm busy for the next 3 days. Okay, you're not slowing down the developers. They can use that same catalog and those same subscription service to build everything into there, and it runs right from the code pipeline. I've watched major corporations go, you have what? This is cool, and because it's a real functional bridge between dev and ops. And finally, it's on containers, and it is fast to install, and it is complete. We've taken the functionality from the old products. We've rewritten, re-architected, rebuilt. It's the world's first fully enterprise container-based management suite for cloud. So, but if you're moving a lot of workloads to the cloud, please know that we have other products, Cloud Assessment and Platespin, that help you not only assess the amount of work it is to get cloud workloads moved to the cloud, but also you can manage and migrate workloads between clouds, between data centers, and that's Platespin, and that has a really great reputation. So next slide, we're almost done. So just that deployment foundation and the platform for containers, quick installation, upgrade and patch, zero downtime, self-healing, secure, flexible deployment, but new functionality is available to you every quarter because it's just a container role within that. And so you can upgrade to a new release in like 5 to 10 minutes. It's really, really cool. All right, so it's revolutionary I've been in management software for more than 20 years. So it's pretty cool to see that this is a fundamental change in the experience of using management software. Okay, so and if you want to find out more information, once again, here's our data. Next slide has our database and website, and then we're done. So the next slide after this is our capability matrix. We'll leave that up while we take questions. And so next slide for me, Shaw, and then we'll give it back to Darren to ask for questions.
Gosh, thank you, Neil and Shaw.
Great.
That was incredibly insightful. I mean, what a really powerful tool. I mean, especially when you're managing hybrid cloud, because you've got the internal as well as the external, and being able to migrate workloads between the two seamlessly is also one of the draw cards. So thank you very much for showing us some of the ins and outs there of those services that are available. So right now, I'd like to take some questions. I mean, I believe Shaw and Neil covered most of it there quite succinctly. So I don't know if there are any questions, but if there are, please, Shaw, let's move to the next slide there, and we can open up the chat window for questions.
Oh, not the chat.
Sorry, not the chat window, the question window. And then,
yeah. Sorry,
so if you all maximize your control panel, you'll see a questions tab. Just pull that arrow down and you can type your question in there.
Looks like a couple of people have found it already.
Yep. Okay, so I just need to pop this out. There we go. All right, so first question. Please confirm that using this tool would not slow down our users in going out and getting cloud resources.
Okay, Shaw, do you want to talk about the difference between going to Amazon directly and using this type of tool as a user?
Yeah, so that's the intention, right? To not to slow down the consumption of the public cloud and very quickly provide that services through a self-service way is the goal. Now, this will also give you as IT is the visibility and control on those services. So just for example, right, if I go and as an end user go to AWS and try to provision a service myself, I have to go through 6 or 7 different screens to actually provision that service, and I also have to actually figure out what each of these nomenclature is for different size of the server, and then figuring out which one's right for me. And then I have to go another screen to maybe even look at the pricing because it's not in one place. Now this actually brings all that information in one place, and then for IT admin to actually make the decision on what that the cost and the footprint of that service that's going to be. For the end user, I'm simply just gonna, with a couple of clicks, I can provision that service, and now I can just use the native access to get to those services to start working on my application or my website.
Oh, thanks, Shaw. Next question, why do you think this will actually help cut public cloud spending?
Let me take a cut at this, Shaw, then you can comment. Like when we talk to customers, you know, when you sit down before the meeting, you start talking about just anecdotal stories from their organization about people overspending or forgetting this or getting overbilled for this or not turning this off or not realizing all this storage was out there. Because remember, with most of the cloud vendors, it's free to move your data to their cloud, and then you pay to touch it for the rest of eternity. So the thing is, when it's free, they want that data on their cloud. So the issue is, especially with staff turnover, what we've seen is when people leave and they go, we don't know who that was. I still remember working with the HPIT team a couple years ago when they were doing their huge 85 data center to 6 data center shift, and they had applications that were running, and they finally got so frustrated they just turned it off and see who screamed because they couldn't find who owned these things. All right, so the issue with that's not unheard of in large organizations, especially with multiple business units, multiple geographies worldwide, and globals. So the issue here is not to say that the cloud is not being used effectively. It's to say, how can we help you do a better job with your team's budget? And I think that's what we're saying is it's not hard to be able to trim 5 to 10% of that spend if in fact it's simply controlling use that is past its useful lifespan or whenever it's set up. And now, Shaw, you talked to me about some of the things you can do to set up these things so that they either notify or turn off or whatever, or have a expiration date.
So notification is one thing, right? But be able to cleanly deprovision everything that's attached to it as part of the management. Now, as an admin or the group admin or the organization admin, I have visibility and control and see who's provisioning all the system. Even if they left the group or the team, I know exactly who actually owns which server and which instance due to the tagging that we have and the relationship of the subscription to the user. So as a cloud admin, I can transfer that subscription using our HyperCloud Management capability to a different user, or simply saying that user is gone, or I can just deprovision it. I can run a quick report, find the ones I don't want, and deprovision. Or I can even set up a set of services to go and shut down everything that I don't need at nighttime and bring everything back up. All that information is available for me to operate on now, and have that tied to what those subscriptions can actually use for. It's great visibility for IT to actually an opportunity to reduce the cost of the spend.
Great, thanks, Sean. We have another question there. What do we do if we need more complex services created? Do we have to use a separate portal?
No, it's the same portal, right? So the same portal will service for both broker services and the more customized services that you want to offer to your end user. And it can be tagged and set to different organizations, different catalogs, or even the different categories so that it can easily be accessible through a quick browsing of the services or search from the same marketplace portal.
Thank you.
So the intention here is to create a central, not only dashboard for visibility. I I grew up as an engineer, and one of the things when I was an engineer in a manufacturing company, we used manufacturing resource planning software to see what resources we had to work with in manufacturing. This is that dashboard that you kept seeing here that Shaw was showing us is a resource dashboard. So you know what you have in play, what's in flight, and who owns it. And just that, having that central environment to know I've got these in Amazon, I got these in VMware, I've got this as traditional, I've got this in Google, this is Azure, whatever. I know where all my stuff is, and I can find out. And this allows IT to answer questions and look like they really have control. And that's so important for the reputation of central IT.
Brilliant, thanks. And then the last question, can you further explain how you recommend we could baseline potential savings for public cloud spending?
Okay, so this is where you need some people on your team that are politically sensitive, because you don't want to go in and tell people they're doing something incorrect, right? What you're saying is, let me help you raise visibility with your team so that I can keep you notified of when your team's going to go over budget. And then you can look at your own use, et cetera, and what's happening. But the baseline comes from having data, which means you've got to go out to different groups. And you know what? The value here is the fact that you're listening to either the developers or the line of business teams. Okay, you want to go and say, how can we help? We're all using the cloud. We just want to make sure that everyone's being able to be as effective and as quick, but also as cost effective as possible. And remember, we're still going to be the ones signing the contract with each cloud vendor. So it's in our best interest as an organization to have a really good view of who's doing what and where we've got utilization going on. So the recommendation that we've worked out with our customers is to go through a sample of departments, and you're not trying to pigeonhole anyone. You're trying to say, what are you using for? Have you had sections or months where spending was more than you thought? If you had tools to help you know when teams were going to go over budget, do you think you could control your spending? And what you need to do is just gently ask, what kind of improved efficiency could you get with each department? And then when you roll that up, remember, there's strength in numbers. If you've got, another great boss I had in my career said, nothing stops an argument like data, right? So you want the data, and you've got to have. Remember, data is basically the enemy of opinion, right? If you've got opinion is great. Oh, I think we can do this. If you've got data to show a group of a good proportion of your community thinks you can drive some efficiency, that's a really strong thing. And what you're doing is really ensuring the effectiveness of the spend that they're already spending. It's almost like insurance for their public cloud spend. And CFOs buy insurance for everything, for people, for machinery, for facilities, for just travel, whatever. They're used to spending money to assure a business result. And that's what you're doing. And building that baseline initially in a sensitive way and not condescending is, we know you need to move fast. We want to help you move fast. We think we can provide tools to help you be more effective. And that's why we think this has been very effective with the customers that have adopted it.
No, you've said it perfectly. I mean, I know because we resell this product to a lot of customers, and the whole point is that this makes the CIO look good.
Yeah.
So I think visibility, transparency, and controllability are really key themes here for HyperCloud Management. Thank you.
Cool.
All right, I don't see any more questions. I think we must have covered it quite in detail.
Yeah, thanks for those questions. Thank you for those questions. They were good questions.
All right. That brings us to a close of the webinar. I'm just going to announce a few things that's happening in the world of Vivid. So, sure, if we can just move ahead to the next slide. We still have our board elections. They're still open till May the 2nd. So if you are keen on the candidates becoming board members, please vote now. The seats are open. And as always, Vivid members are voluntary. We do this because we love what we do. And hopefully we can make a difference in the community. There are also a number of webinars that are coming up, so be sure to register and catch those. Sure, if we move to the next slide, I'll list those. So we've got some special interest groups, our sister groups there, offering some really key webinars. We've got OpsBridge and SACM for around IT operations. And on April 25th, we've got Content Manager, the impact of GDPR on the International Criminal Court. This is going to be good because, as everyone knows, the D-Day is May 28th, so no one's taking it as seriously as they should be. And then on May the 17th, another IT operations talk about product, which I've used before, and that's SiteScope and OMI. So please register and tell your friends. Okay, next slide. And I think yep, and that's a big thank you from me to both Neil and Shaw for doing an incredible job there at showcasing the HyperCloud Management Suite. And as they mentioned, this was just the tip of the iceberg. The functionality of this goes way deeper than what we showed you. So please get in touch if you want some more information. Also, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know your suggestions on what other webinars you'd like to see. If you want to go into more in-depth one-on-one demos, we can arrange that too. So thank you.
Let me give a plug for the two of those webinars. The OpsBridge IT Ops on April 19th. They've got some very, very cool things. If you're doing cloud, they can do cloud monitoring better than anyone on earth right now, and it's so cool to see more data than you can get even from Amazon's own stuff. And that's the value here, is that they've got cloud and Internet of Things monitoring down to a science, and it's so cool to have that very, very intelligent machine learning environment that makes things root cause much faster to get to. And then finally on May 17th at SiteScope, they've got some new stuff there that is very, very cool for very, very lightweight monitoring of systems and how it all works together. And I think you'd get a blast hearing about some of that as well. So
great. Thank you so much. Hope you all had a good time and enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you again next time. And remember, you heard it here first.
Thank you very much, everyone.